Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Happy Monday. Happy Memorial Day. Give me a second. Happy Memorial Day. Yes, it's Monday, May 26th, 2025. That is 52625. 52625. And we are back at it. It is, let me turn my chat on. It is a holiday, but we are dedicated. We're not going to let that stop us from taking care of business. Yeah, we're at it. Welcome to the stream. My name is Keith, and I broadcast live from Austin, Texas. 5 days a week, Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. Central Standard Time. And we stream on Twitch, on YouTube, and on LinkedIn. And we're back at it today. How was the weekend? I had big plans for the weekend. And I accomplished some of them. That's what I'll say. Didn't have much in the way of family stuff. No, we just hung around the house for the most part, but got a little yard work done. I wrote some code, but mainly I was wrangling data. I'm trying to work on this new project, and I need data for it. And some of it is mathematically generated, some of it is scraped, and some of it is just made up. But the made up stuff I don't really understand very well, so I'm going to learn more about it. That took longer than I thought it was going to do this weekend. But there we are. We're back at it. Monday. It's going to be a short week for the rest of the world, but we're up early, and you are here to get those job applications out. That's why I created the stream. It's just a pal to check in with while you do a task that nobody likes to do, the grind of getting a job. But here we are. We do two things on the stream. We look at job posting numbers that I've been collecting, and then we look at news that may or may not affect what goes on in the tech industry, and specifically might affect the workforce. Why is that? Oh, there we go. Let's do the numbers first. Check those job numbers. All right, so what we see here is data that I've been collecting for over 1,000 days. But the most instructive part of it really is but the most helpful part of it is the last year. And so we see we have three graphs here: the last 7 days, the last 6 months, and the last year. And this gives us a trend line about where the job postings are going, specifically around web developers. Last 7 days has been pretty flat. The last 6 months, there's been a lot of downward pressure and trend. But if you zoom out to about a year ago, the last year, we can see that really the numbers are flat. Yes, they go up, they come down, but the numbers are overall pretty stable, right? But in that up and down phase, we're kind of in the down phase right now. We're under average in terms of where they are. I've also, since the first of the year, been getting a little bit more granular in the data, and this graph here shows all of the JavaScript developer jobs since the first of the year, and it's split apart by Java in-person and remote. So the in-person jobs, again, fairly consistent with some peaks and some valleys. The remote work, there's definitely a slight downward trend there overall. But when we break that down to Experience level, we see that uh, entry level, mid level, and senior level roles also, been basically flat. These are for in-person roles. But when we look at the remote roles, we'll see that really the dip in that number in our remote roles are in the mid-range. They've been fairly consistent so far this year for the number of remote jobs for senior levels and uh, junior levels, but not mid-level for some reason. Not sure what explains that, but that is definitely a trend. Definitely a trend. I also spend time every day on LinkedIn, several times a day. I'm checking in, but I also check in during the stream because it's got this nice little news feed that they keep updated. So let's look at some numbers. This isn't specifically about tech, but it is, it's about the holiday. It looks to be a record-breaking Memorial Day box office weekend thanks to two beloved movie franchises. Originally envisioned as a straight-to-streaming project, Disney's live-action remake of Lilo and Stitch took the number one spot. What? Interesting. I mean, I saw it was coming out, but that was not on my radar. I don't have little kids anymore. With a $183 million opening, behind it was Tom Cruise's latest Mission Impossible movie, which boasted a series domestic debut, series best, of $77 million. Analysts estimate the 3-day weekend bringing roughly $325 million in a total, a massive turnaround compared to last year's $132 million. Interesting. I wonder if they didn't open opposite each other, how that Tom Cruise weekend would have been. Because there's always this argument about counter programming. But the thing is, with kids' movies, parents have to take them to the movies. And when they're taking their kids to the kids' movie, they're not going to the adult movie. So that's interesting. I wonder if they opened on different weekends, if that number would. I mean, I don't think the Lilo number would have gone up much, but I think there's definitely a shot that Mission Impossible could have broke 100 million. Because that's all that we've seen in the press for 2 weeks. If you're on YouTube or I suppose the social medias, they're probably advertising like crazy there too. Interesting. I was talking to my wife yesterday because I saw information out about the Tom Cruise movie. And I was trying to remember what movie we saw in the theater last year. And I was like, I couldn't remember. And it turns out I didn't see a movie in the theater last year. My wife ended up going to see Wicked, but without me. And it wasn't until the year previous, last movie I saw was in 2023 in the theater, which is incomprehensible to my 20-year-old self who went to the movies all the time. How things change. I was talking to my wife. I was like, if you told my 20-year-old self that I go more than a year without seeing a movie in the theater, I'd probably be asking you, am I quadriplegic? Did something horrible happen to me? That's funny. Nope, not the case. Just a lot more options now than we used to have. Firms pounce on 90-day trade truce. Companies nationwide are capitalizing on the 90-day pause in the United States and China trade war by ramping up production and rearranging canceled orders to take advantage of the short reprieve. Container shipments from the U.S. have doubled since the truce was announced, equating to 2.2 million 20-foot boxes. The race is on now for importers to secure limited space in freight ships amid decreased sailings. Yeah, I mean, you can say it went up, but it's still not anything back to where it was. Um, and it's really going to depend on, yeah. I mean, it's depends on the product. If you have to get it manufactured, and you only have one source to buy it from, you're going to have a harder time. Unless you had a production line and was just sitting there waiting to be turned back on. It's not looking good for prices in the fall. President Donald Trump said he would delay placing tariffs on products on the EU until July 9th. In a social media post on Sunday, the president had stated that he had spoken with the EU President Ursula von der Leyen and granted an extension just days after threatening to put a 50% levy on the 27 nation bloc. Should be 50% tariffs. Should a 50% tariff be imposed? $321 billion worth of U.S. EU goods trade would be affected, and consumer prices could rise more than 0.3%. Bloomberg. Good call with POTUS. Interesting. Chevron will face rival ExxonMobil in a private arbitration hearing this week to determine whether it has the right to purchase one of the most prized oil fields in the world for $53 billion. Chevron's years-long fight for ownership of Hess and its stake in a lucrative oil project in Guyana hinges on Exxon's claim that it has the right of first refusal under a joint project's contractual terms. The traders have a lot riding on the outcome, including $10 billion in merger arbitrage bets. Guyana. Guyana. All right, what do we got? The numbers to watch this week. Inflation returns to the center stage this week, with the Fed's preferred price gauge is suspected to show slightly slower growth in April. The U.S. Personal Consumption Expenditures Index is forecast to have risen an annual 2.2% last month, down from 2.3% in March, according to a survey of economists. It's unclear how sweeping new tariffs will affect price growth, even with the delay of many of the duties. The Fed has said it will wait for more evidence before possibly resuming interest rate cuts. Gosh, dang it. We need those cuts. So Tuesday, we're going to have the Census Bureau releasing its monthly report on durable goods. Wednesday, the Conference Board will release its Consumer Confidence Survey. Optimism about the economy. Nothing Thursday. Bureau of Economic Analysis released preliminary gross domestic product reading for the first quarter. Department of Labor will release initial jobless claims for the previous week. Commerce Department will release its Personal Consumption Expenditure Index. And the University of Michigan will release its reading of May's Consumer Sentiment Index. Okay, nothing earth-shattering in there, I don't think. Booz Allen plans to lay off 7%. Oh, dang it. Not what I wanted to do. 7% of its roughly 36,000 employees this quarter. The consulting giant made an announcement while reporting its latest quarterly earnings, which foreshadows a significant slowdown in the civil sector projects that comprise 1/3 of its revenue. Nearly all Booz Allen income comes from the U.S. government, which has canceled some key contracts amid a bid to shrink its spending. The cuts will largely affect the consultancy division. Consultancy's civil division, its defense and intel business remain on track to grow. Yeah, shocking there. Shocking there. Weekly one-on-one meetings between managers and their direct reports can be mutually advantageous, especially when they create space for feedback that flows in both directions. But one-on-ones can be more cumbersome or even redundant in the face of nearly constant contact via modern workplace collaboration tools. When that's the case, new analysis from Bloomberg suggests there may be better alternatives like daily rapport building, on-the-spot feedback, and an open-door policy for impromptu issues that arise. Yeah, I mean, if your manager has time to do one-on-ones with everybody on the team every week, I think they need a little more responsibility. They got too much time on their hands. Bosses judge workers who unplug. Ugh. These stories. Your boss may recognize that taking time to unplug and silence your Slack notifications during time off will make you more energized and productive when you return to work. But according to a recent study, that doesn't mean they won't unconsciously perceive you and your promotability negatively for doing so. Describing the phenomena such as the detachment paradox, the study authors note that managers often value visibility and responsiveness as a proxy for dedication, sometimes with damaging consequences. Yeah, I mean, this is a modern day management and labor argument. It's like, you pay me when I'm at the office, I'm going to do 120%. I'll give you everything I got. But when I'm unplugged and at home, that's my time. You're not paying me for it. Having said that, I am at a specific point in my career. I wouldn't have said that in my 20s. I would have said, look, I'm trying to go somewhere. I'm trying to create a professional life. So I'm going to put in the extra time. I'm going to be available 24/7. I'm going to do that, which is great. There's a place for both of those, but employers have to meet employees where they are. If you want to run a business model based on a bunch of 20-year-olds, you're going to have some other problems. They're going to work longer, but you're going to have some other problems. All right. That's all the news we have there. Let's see what's on Google News. And feel free to throw a question in the chat if you have any questions about working in tech, about getting a job, about being a professional developer. Feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn too. Always looking to grow my network. I've had several people reach out to me that saw me on the feed, and we have had a connection made and sometimes a conversation back and forth in the chat. Always looking to grow my network. So what the heck is this thing? Oh, it's a flip phone. Always the phone stuff in the technology. Phones and video games. What's going on in the AI? Yeah, he's not conscious. At Amazon, some coders say their jobs have begun to resemble warehouse work. That sounds like a person who's never done warehouse work. That's what that sounds like. I certainly have. Uh, that's kind of funny. Yeah, these are not going to win you any sympathies in the labor disputes. From LLMs to hallucinations, here's a simple guide to common AI terms. Okay. Google is burying the web alive. Yep, I've been talking about this for quite a while. Google created the modern day web, and it is slowly strangling it to death. Teens should be training to become AI ninjas. We'll see it. CEO says. Xi Jinping's plan to beat America at AI. Yep. Not a betting person, but I would not take that bet. AI system resorts to blackmail if told it will be removed. Yeah, that's an old story. AI stock market volatility. AI turned stock market volatility into an opportunity, says Entrepreneur Magazine. Looks like an ad. That almost seems like an ad. 5 side hustles you can do with AI. Yesterday, interesting. School scramble to police AI cheating. DDD. Did you see that meme that was floating around last week about they put the text from the Constitution into one of those AI validators to see if AI had written it, and AI said 99% yes, it was written by AI. AI ain't B2B if OpenAI is to believe. That is not true. Ay. Sam Altman is a visionary with a trustworthiness problem. That is absolutely true. Uh, da, 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 da. 5 days ago. This robot arm is creating traditional Chinese ink paintings in a non-traditional way. That is a funny story. I didn't see that last week. 3 artificial intelligence will writing survive AI. Writing survive AI. We've talked about this on the stream. If you're writing something original that only you could write, AI is not improving that very much. If you're writing something that anybody could write, hey, I need to write a introductory letter for some business thing. Like anybody can write that letter. Not necessarily well, but anybody can write that letter. And AI is probably going to be better at writing that letter for you. Let's see. Almost half of young people would prefer a world without the internet, UK study says. Without the internet. I mean, they probably are thinking without social media. Without the internet. Yeah, I don't think they understand what that means. Investing in what moves the internet forward. Opening eyes, putting out press releases. I'm talking to Congress. He warns technology they're developing will be as big as the internet, maybe bigger. Uh huh. Still trying to raise money, are you? Kids Online Safety Act will make the internet worse for everyone, says EFF. Interesting. Courts are quietly taking over the internet, says Reason Magazine. That's interesting. Let's see what that's all about. What's the U.S. news? Oh boy, here we go. Oh no. Family and I are going to the beach, not the South Carolina beach. We're going to the beach next week. 11 hurt in South Carolina beach shooting. Yikes. Americans remember George Floyd on the anniversary of his death. 5 years. Wow. Interesting. Interesting. Kind of slow news day. Slow news day. Kidnapping and torturing a man for weeks. Yikes. Yikes. I'm living in Austin, Texas. If you're not familiar with Austin, Texas, it is kind of this left-leaning oasis in an otherwise very right-leaning state. And so there's always been some friction between those people that are in the Texas Capitol House or come from all the counties around Texas and tend to be, Republican in their sway. And all the people that host them in the city of Austin. And they don't like what we do here, generally speaking. And we do not like what they do there. Texas House passed a Senate bill requiring the display of 10 commandments in all public schools. That is as unconstitutional as you can imagine. And of course, it's going to be challenged. And it's a complete waste of time. As you can see from this photo, on the grounds of the Texas Capitol that our tax dollars paid for, it's a monument with the 10 commandments on it. Here we go. Okay, we're down to the end of it. We will call it a day for today. I will be back in 23 hours and 30 minutes. In the meantime and in between time, get those job applications out. Try and enjoy the day. If your family, like mine, is also off. And we will see you